and that is where the majority of Hello everyone, and welcome to another Wavelength show. My name is Waveney and I'm a leadership coach. Now today I'm speaking to you about influence, and influence is a critical skill of any leader. But when you're new to management, your first management role, how do you gain influence? What do you do, right? So what I'm going to talk to you about is how you garner that influence, how you develop that influence among your team and your peers. Now, as a new manager, the question is, what would stand in your way? What stands in the way of a new manager influencing others? So let's begin. Let's first break down what is influence. And led by trusted Google, I typed in influence in leadership, and I want to read this to you. To influence is to have an impact on behaviors, attitudes, opinions, and choices of others. Influence is not to be confused with power and control. It's not about manipulating others to get your own way. So really the key here is about impact on the behaviors and attitude of others. And that's what you really want. You don't want to go in as a new manager high-handed and it's about power and control. However, unfortunately, many new managers feel that this is the way to go. I certainly felt that way as a new manager. When I went into my role, I thought I had to change my persona to get my point across or to get certain things done. But it doesn't have to be that way. And this could be you. You may be thinking that, you have to change your persona. You have to go in a high-handed way. No, at first you may have to use your position. You may have to, use your title to assert your authority, because you may be walking into a situation where persons may not like the fact that you were given that role. That happens, right? I've seen that, and I've heard people talk about that. And so at first, to influence outcomes, to get to the desired goal of the organization or your department, you may have to assert your authority. There is nothing wrong with that. But I want you to understand that that is not the only way. Your goal is to gain influence. Now, some people are naturally gifted. They are born with it. They speak and people listen and people do what they say. That's natural. But some of us have to work at it. And so what you should really strive towards is a healthy balance between your authority, which is your position, your title, because with that comes a lot of leverage, right? But it should be a combination of that and relationship management. It's really about relationships, how you manage that relationship. And let me tell you, when you are a manager, when you're in this leadership game, you are in for the long haul. If you think that you're going to come in and it's about your title or it's about how much work you've done in the past or what systems you know, it is not about that. As I read earlier, it is really about your ability to have an impact on the behavior and attitude of others. So how do you do that? Well, how do you not do that? Many times, new managers, like I mentioned, they go in and they think that the same behaviors that got them into that role are the same behaviors that they should continue with. And that is where the majority of the problem lies. Many persons don't have someone to say, hey, you've got to start acting differently. And let me give you an example. As a new manager, before you were I'm a new manager, before you got that title, you most likely had control over your work. You probably really didn't depend on others to get the work done. You had that control. So if a deadline was set, you didn't really have to depend on a whole lot of people to get stuff done. And you were a superstar, right? But when you became a manager, it's different. You have a team, you depend on people to get stuff done. And so many managers can't make that switch. They don't make that switch because you've built a habit. You've built a habit that has worked for you over a period of time, and that's okay. The trick is to remember that now you are in a position where you need the support of others. And, if you've been listening to me for a while, you've probably heard me say this, that your work is done through people. And it is the absolute truth. You need others, you need your team, you need that other department to get stuff done. But sometimes we don't turn off that switch. We don't turn off that switch that says, hey, I'm no longer contributing. I'm no longer an individual contributor. I am now a frontline leader. I am now in charge of assisting my team, removing obstacles, providing guidance so that they can get what they need done so I can then show up, right? And so sometimes, a lot of times, new managers, they're competing with their staff. They're competing with their staff, or they're holding on to information. How can you influence anybody when you're competing with them? How can you influence them? Many of you, and you may be looking at this, you've had that. I've certainly had that done to me, where I felt like my boss wanted to do my work and their work. Right? It's like, let me do what I'm paid to do, right? And nobody likes that. Nobody likes that. So you are not helping the situation when you're competing. You're not with your team when you haven't made that switch. Okay? You can't influence them. You can't influence them when you're focused on being in charge. And what do I mean? Your focus is like, I'm the boss. I'm in charge of this department. It's an I. That doesn't help, right? Leadership is a long game. It is a long game because you have to change your behavior first. You have to change your attitudes first before you can influence and impact anybody else. And this is a thing that you don't learn in school, right? Or if you do, they just kind of touch on it, they breeze past it. But I've seen so many leaders fail because they haven't really focused on their relationship management, and they also didn't focus on their competence. When I think about leaders that are not influential that I've met, and many of you know that I come from an HR background, I can tell you one of the big two things. It's always about the relationship with others, and it's also about their competence. And that's another thing. As a new manager, you have to build your competence. And so that will take time. Okay. But for those persons who are managers and they just think like, okay, I can get by on my title, that's not going to work. You have to continuously develop yourself. And so developing your competence, and also balancing that with the relationship management, your relationship with others, that is a key role. When I look at managers that I don't consider influential, it's almost a combination of both of them. It's either that they don't have a presence, they're not confident in what they're saying, or they don't know. They really, really, like, they've taken on this role and it's too much for them. They cannot do the job. They cannot do the job. And if if you can't do your job, your people are gonna see this. They're gonna see it. They might not say it because they don't want to lose their job, but they can see it. And so you've got to build yourself, and you've got to take. People must be honest. You've got to take jobs that you can do. And I'm not talking about you fear not getting it right. I'm talking about that you really, this job is not for you. You cannot do the job. So build your competence. And then on the other hand, the relationship management piece. I've seen leaders that they don't care about the people. And I'm telling you right now, that's a huge mistake. You have to care about people. You have to get them involved. You cannot be successful without people. Maybe you think that you can use your position and your title to get ahead. You won't get the buy-in. You have to get people's hearts. You have to meet them where they are. You have to connect with them. And the best leaders work at this. And so if you really want to influence others, work on your competence and work on your relationship management. But most importantly, work on yourself. Because when you start with you, and you see that you've made your personal and professional development a priority, everything else is easy. Everything else will fall into place. Take it from someone who has been there, who has grown and developed, and now sharing it with you. And so let me know if this message resonates with you. I will post below my 3-day leadership challenge. You can start there. It will help you. It's a great challenge. But keep me posted. Send me a DM, send me a message. Let me know how it has helped you. And I will see you on another wavelength. Bye.